Well, speaking about the states and how they're utilizing the bailout funds, we've got Dr. Ike Odigbo, who is a member of the APC. He joins us from our studios in Abuja. Good morning, and thank you for joining us. While we are focusing on this matter now, what are your concerns exactly about how governors are applying this bailout funds given to them?
Good morning. My concerns are very, very precarious. These bailout funds are designed by the federal government to support the states in their deficits in debt of salaries. But unfortunately, as we can see, in most states, people are still protesting, salaries are still unpaid. And I take a cue from my state. It is not very good news, good stories we're hearing from Delta State about how these funds are being utilized. It's unfortunate that what the goodwill of federal government in supporting them to get out of the situation is being misappropriated as usual.
As usual?
Yes, as usual, because if you know, Delta State government is what we refer to as a paddy government. For Delta State to perform well, there's going to be a clear break from the structures that formed the government from 1999 to date. I do not see any magic that anybody can perform if you are from that lineage of governance. So if the federal government give them all the money that they generate from Abuja, it is still not going to make any change because the state is being riddled with so much debt which has been a carryover from the previous government. So to have a successful governance in that state, there must be a clean break from the old order.
Are you suggesting that the people who are voting don't know what they've been doing all the while?
I'm from Delta State, it's not part of voting. We never really have clear elections in Delta State. Because the opposition has not been as strong as it is now. From the way elections are done in Delta State, they just write results, so the people don't have any, the people's voice are not heard. And this is the first time we're getting the opposition getting it right in Delta State. So I'm sure that the 2019 election will be a good one, that people will vote and the votes will count. Before now, votes don't count in Delta State. I'm from Delta State, so I can tell you that.
Some people will say that your reading of the situation in Delta, it's very political. I mean, that you're a member of the opposition party in that state, you might not be as fair as you ought to be, because the same complaints we hear in Delta, we also hear in other APC states. Are you saying that even within your party, some governors are not being sincere?
Well, I will talk about my state. I don't know the other APC states that are complaining, but my state, I can tell you, even from statistics that read out from those in government. I'll give you an example. The 10 billion tranche of fund that Delta State got, the retirement by the press secretary did show a surplus of he retired out of 7.9 billion, he retired 8-point-something billion. So if a man can sit down and retire more money than he received, it did show you that they're playing with figures. So I'm not saying this because I'm from the opposition point of view. Most of the things, information we get is from what they tell us. So it is not because of presence of opposition or not opposition. The facts are there for people to see that these funds are not being utilized properly.
Let's talk more about, since you're from Delta State, you say, and so you're in touch with the happenings there. Let's talk about these bailout funds and how workers in that state are being paid. We did have one of the representatives from the government at some point in this program, and he said that the Delta State doesn't even owe salaries. So how could you just sit there and then claim that this government of Delta State is underperforming?
Well, I'm surprised if you say they don't owe salaries in Delta State.
No, I didn't say so.
Salaries are not only the monthly salaries people earn. You have the pensioners, you have the local government staffs. Go to Delta State and ask them. They're being owed. So instead they are talking about their government appointees, which of course, these are the political patronage. They are the ones that are being paid. But the real people who these monies are being meant for are not getting their due payments. That we know.
How long have they been owed then?
Local government, I hear they're owed over 6-7 months. Pensioners, maybe over 2 years. So if you add, you owe a man more than 1 or 2 months, it's a big problem for a monthly salary earner.
Well, when you say you hear, are you saying that on authority or you approximate?
Well, it's not a matter of approximation. It's a matter of interacting with the persons involved. So, and they tell you their situation. You go to Delta State, it's not a very good situation. Even those of them in government, if they are sincere with themselves, they can tell you. We have people, even honorable members, who are complaining, who are sad, who complain that this government in Delta State is a government of a family government, whereby the patronage is only to those that are friends of governors, families of governors, and those who are loyalties are to the governors. Even those of them who are PDP, in all honesty, they will tell you they are not happy. And that's why you see that most of them are moving into APC.
Let me speak, because, if I could just come in.
Of any other thing.
Because, I mean, we also see that different states, they have different complaints about the funds they were giving, how are they utilizing it. For instance, now, there was a recent, we could call it a meeting. The NLC was speaking about this matter. They're not happy with it. And the NLC president was quoted to have said, we have the case of Zamfara, which is the only state that has not implemented the minimum wage, and all attempts, including agreements they have signed to get them to make available records of utilization of those funds, have failed. And this is an APC state which you say, well, you want to speak about your state, but looking from a broader perspective, different states, different parties, they have issues about how they're managing these funds. What's the way out?
Well, for the issue of Zamfara, comparing Zamfara with Delta State is a bit of an anomaly. If you consider what Delta State gets on a monthly basis, it's probably that's what Zamfara gets in a whole year. So if Zamfara has issues of funding, that can be excused. Delta State has no excuse. Take a cue from a state like Anambra State, our next day neighbor. Anambra State does not get like 10% of what we get on a monthly basis. Go to Anambra State and see how the place is being run. Do you understand? It's not a question of criticizing Delta because I'm not in PDP. Look at Lagos State. These are states that you compare with. Not comparing Zamfara with Delta is a wrong comparison. Well, compare Delta State with Anambra. Compare Delta State with Lagos State.
We need to go at this point, but it's not a question of comparison. Any state that owes salaries will be mentioned. So whether they will get 1 naira or not, it's irrelevant. But if you haven't paid, we have to mention it.